What's up, guys? TheMainManSWE here, hoping you're all doing awesome as always, and this is going to be a pretty big video, I think. We'll see if I can record this live. Viewer of mine I respect a lot has requested a video, and it's top 5 ways a Tekken player can improve. So what are 5 pointers I could give you that would make you improve hopefully pretty quickly? Maybe you've plateaued for a while. So this potentially could be eye-opening, and these are the 5 tips I'm going to give you are things I've picked up over the years. And the first tip I'm going to give you is something I myself only discovered, I would say, truthfully, like, let's say a year ago, and it's helped me tremendously. So I'm just going to start. So number 1 regards your mental fortitude, your mental attitude while playing Tekken. This is a game that can be highly rage-inducing, very tilting. It can be extremely obnoxious. Why is this? Because a big aspect of Tekken is knowledge checking. You have 50 different characters in Tekken 7 right now, and honestly, that number is astounding. 50 characters. And why is this so monumental? Well, it's because every single character in this game has at least like 60-70 attacks. The average number of attacks is 100, and those can be strings. This is listed in the move list as 1 attack, but this has multiple properties, right? And variations, because I can do poof, I can do this, and I can do this. This game is endlessly complicated, and it can be very, very annoying running into a character you see very rarely, and the character goes, and you just get blown up because you don't know the matchup. That can be extremely tilting. Friends of mine who are casual gamers who picked up Tekken, they tell me no other game has frustrated them as much as Tekken. So first off, we just have to acknowledge that it can be stressful playing this game. Can be very stressful, constantly getting knowledge checked. So my tip for you, number 1 is regarding your mental attitude playing the game. You will be 10 times better, and you will learn 10 times faster if you're very calm while playing this game. And I'm not gonna lie, NGL, this is something, if you've watched my content, I've struggled with that to a very large extent. If you watch my stuff from like 5 years ago, I'm way more stressed. Or you can just jump back like 2 years ago. My ranked sessions, I'm way more stressed than I am today. So this is something I've had to work hard at, and it's something that is going to be hard for you to fix if you get annoyed playing this game. But I can only tell you that if you manage to overcome that, like holy hell will you see the game from fresh new angles, and you're going to learn so quickly. Because when you're frustrated, your brain tends to shut down. No new information goes in, and you tend to autopilot a lot. It's like you're playing, but you're not really playing. You're not there, really. You're just doing stuff. Oh, I usually do this into this, and then I do this. That usually works, right? The thing with Tekken is that every single matchup you encounter, every single character, play styles are very different on characters. You should form a unique game plan for that occasion. And you always have to be aware, looking at your opponent going, what patterns is he presenting me right now? How does this player like to play? And what can we usually expect from Paul, that character? If you have that with you, every single match you play in Tekken, it's like you have no idea how quickly you pick up the game. If you're able to just form that game plan during the loading screen, what character, and then when you observe that player, alter your game plan to fit whatever he's presenting you. And clear-minded, you will see his strings and stuff, and you will absorb information. Your brain won't be turned off. So I just can't stress that enough. Your mental attitude is extremely important. If you're stressed, you tend to autopilot, and you tend to not take in new information. And part of this mental attitude is looking at small victories rather than big victories. So what's a big victory? I won the match! You cannot be expected to win every match. That's not going to happen. For a lucky few of you, you'll start playing Tekken and you'll do really well quickly. Maybe you'll even be a beginner and you're gonna play a character that's heavy in knowledge checks. These tend to do well early on. You might play Eddie, you might play Lei, you might play Zafina, and you'll do stuff. And you will test your opponent's knowledge of a game with a rather obscure character that needs very specific defense. So you play one of those characters and you're like, oh my god, I'm winning 95% of my matches. I'm a goddamn genius. Well, eventually, you can't get too used to winning in this game because eventually you will plateau. You go up the ranks and suddenly you're at 50-50. You're like, oh god, I'm winning 50% of my matches, but I'm also losing 50% of my matches. And now that might affect your ego because you might have built up an ego. I'm a genius. I win 9 in 10 matches. No, you can never expect to win in Tekken. That should not be your default. You're going to set yourself up for gigantic failure if you expect to win more than you lose. So this is sort of a philosophy you need to have, in that look at the small victories rather than the big victory. Don't expect to win the match, but try to do something nice in the match. Oh, I sidestepped his attack and I knocked him down with 1-1-2 and I initiated a vortex. Oh, I got a throw break. Nice. Oh, I blocked his demo man and I launched him with while standing 2. I did a proper punish. That's great. You know, look at try to look at these small elements of a game rather than the bigger picture. Did I win or not? The thing is, if you're able to stay calm mentally and apply what I'm telling you right now, you will learn quickly and eventually you will win more. So it's a bit looking at the long journey rather than here and now. The here and now is not as important as where are you in 6 months. And you're not going to be in a good place in 6 months if you're annoyed right now and you get annoyed every day playing Tekken. So I'm using a lot of words here to try and explain this, and I hope you get it. And it might sound super obvious, but yeah, there's a couple of things you can do to try and stay calm playing this game, and it's of the utmost importance that you do so. And I've stressed for a long time that you take breaks. Those have helped me a lot. If I sense that I'm getting frustrated with Tekken, don't force yourself to play the game. Take a break. It can be a few days or for a week. And then when you come back, I usually play better after a break. I have fresh new eyes seeing the game, and stuff might be obvious to me that wasn't obvious before, mistakes I make. But I always play, I'm much more calm suddenly. It's like clearing your system a little bit. So breaks are really good. Okay, so that was tip number 1, and that was 8 minutes. I'm sorry if it was very long, but I'm trying to explain in detail what I mean with that. So tip number 2 is going to be block. And this is also something that a lot of people really struggle with. People tend to want to attack all the time. This is also known as spam. But in reality, what you are doing is you are trying to knowledge check your opponent. That's why you're spamming all the time. You kind of rely on the fact that my opponent doesn't know how to handle these strings. You are knowledge checking the opponent. And the reason you're doing this all the time is because you want to control the match. You do not want to block and give your opponent an opportunity to knowledge check you, to go, because chances are you just don't know what he's doing, right? That's why you're spamming all the time. It's because your defense is lackluster. So tip number 2 is block. You learn this game 10 times faster, and here again, you're going to have to trust me. I've gone through all of these points I'm giving you. I had to learn the hard way. No one told me to do all of this. This game is learned 10 times faster if you remain calm and you block a lot. That's how you learn in Tekken. Anyone can attack, right? You can certainly get better at attacking, but what separates the amazing Tekken players from the basic Tekken players is their ability to defend. And defense is very strong in this game, considering you can just block a low, launch them, you can low parry lows, you can hop kick lows, strong side steps into launchers. Just a basic punishment here, 11 frames. That's 33 damage into a knockdown, giving me Kazuya's literally his best asset immediately. Knockdown into Vortex. Punishment is insanely strong in Tekken, and defense, and the movement is strong. Block more than you attack. When you block, you learn about Tekken. You allow your opponent to show you, this is what my character can do. Deal with it. Learn to deal with it. Do you get what I'm saying? It's when you block, you are given information about Tekken. What can that character do, Paul? I'm gonna block. My opponent is going to show me what that character can do. As soon as I applied that, I just got, I don't know, 100 times better at matchups I used to struggle with. Mainly Kunimitsu, Ganryu, like characters you see rarely. And again, another factor to this is that as soon as you press a button, you put yourself at risk. And people just mindlessly press pretty much all the time. Just try to relax, block a lot, and yeah, you're going to learn much faster. You can actually see a big difference in my Kazuya. A year ago, I started adapting this. And suddenly this was I've talked about this in a previous video, but this would be reflected immediately in my stats, the in-game stats. I would go from the classic, which you see on 99% of players, S plus combo damage, rage usage, aggressiveness, whatever. I would have aggressive stats that everyone has, but as soon as I started applying more of a block, suddenly I didn't autopilot. I used to autopilot with 50-50 all the time. So I stopped playing super aggressive, and suddenly my stats were defensive ability, agility, and I was suddenly beating players that I couldn't touch prior by simply blocking more, not needlessly autopiloting with aggressive play. So block more than you attack. I promise you, it might sound stupid, but I promise you'll improve a ton. And now for point number 3, it's going to be play different character archetypes. So unless this one should be obvious to you, playing Kazuya is very different to playing Hwoarang. Kazuya, by essence, is the most basic character in the game. This character is about the basic ability to do a mid-low mix-up. It's basically, is he doing forward 3? Is he doing a hell sweep? Or is he doing keep out electrics or pressuring with electrics? There's a little bit more to Kazuya than that, but that in general is this matchup. That's it. Contrast this to Hwoarang, which goes up close like this. That's where Hwoarang wants to be, and it's just an endless barrage of attacks from stance. Flamingo. Just contrast those two archetypes, right? And then you can have a character like Xiaoyu, who can stand a few feet away and go into all kinds of flips, side rolls, back rolls, invincible stance, and will attack while having pretty much invincibility frames. These are different character archetypes, and you will learn this game a heck of a lot faster if you play characters with different archetypes. So, for example, if you play Kazuya, you can play Devil Jin as well. I mean, play characters you enjoy and you like, but I would say mix it up and play characters with very different game plans. So it's certainly, I mean, it's made my Kazuya better by playing Hwoarang, because you understand, if you play that type of character, an archetype, you understand what they will try to do against you, right? And that's kind of part of getting the Tekken PhD, if there is such a thing. I mean, it's impossible to acquire, there's too much in this game. But it's understanding how different character archetypes operate within the game and what their game plan is, what they're trying to do. And that's something you acquire by playing those characters yourself. There's no such thing as anti-character defense. No, wait, there's no such thing. Oh God, what am I trying to say here? The best way of acquiring anti-character defense is playing that character yourself. But it starts at understanding different character archetypes, in my opinion. So in short, play a hyper-aggressive character and play a very defensive character. Can be a good way of looking at this. And point number 4 is going to be... Oh, it's already at 16 minutes. Lovely. Point number 4 is study general anti-character. This is a big one. This is a problem I see all the time in the community. If you watched my 8-minute guides, I've tried to explain in very short. I don't like 2-hour character guides because I think everyone just they go through basically the entire move list. This move, this move, this move, this move, and people lose interest and they can't connect the dots. I think what people need is in a few short sentences. This is what this character does. This is the strengths. These are the weaknesses. Look out for this, right? That's how you teach a newcomer or an intermediate to deal with a matchup. And I don't know how many times I see people, even pretty strong players I play against, complain about, hey, Kazuya 50-50. He just hits me all the time with a hell sweep. Oh my God. Blah, blah, blah. I'm just always trying to get across, like, well, if you just want a basic tip in one sentence, how you make this matchup a heck of a lot easier for you and way more stress-free is when he hell sweeps you or knocks you down, try to just stay on the ground. It's a very simple thing, excruciatingly simple. And it completely changes the matchup. When he hell sweeps you, don't mindlessly autopilot and mash tech roll, like many of you do, unfortunately. It's these just basic little tips that make certain matchups 100 times easier. And you'd be surprised how many of these general tips there are on many of the characters that if you just keep them in mind during the matchup, it's just so much easier. Because again, here with Kazuya, if you just tech roll after taking the hell sweep, you're just doing exactly what Kazuya wants. You're not even thinking about it, is my guess. You're not thinking clearly because that's exactly what Kazuya needs. Kazuya takes a big risk using his 50-50. Both of these options, hell sweep and forward 3, they both come out at 20 frames. And while Kazuya is committed to that animation, you can counter hit him, even with a high, with a magic 4. Because forward 3, straight back, no evasion. Hell sweep, it looks like it should have evasion, right? He goes down quite far. It has no evasion whatsoever. He leaves himself completely open. So Kazuya doesn't like this neutral situation here, trying to 50-50. He's gonna try and jab check you to make him respect him, and then he'll use the 50-50. But that's risky. That's why Kazuya's 10 frame knocks down. That's why everything he does knocks down. It's so he can apply his vortex. That's the design of this character. So again, when you tech roll this, you give him a free 50-50 where he takes no risk. So you're just playing into the character, right? So I'm really tired of seeing like even decently competent players say, I'm just getting hell swept over and over, and then I can tell you, you're just mindlessly tech rolling all the time. So you have to study general anti-character. So that means don't go into practice mode and lab every single fucking move, because you're going to, 1 week later, you're going to forget all about that. What you need are these basic few things to make a matchup easier. Another very notable example of this is people struggling against Eddie and Xiaoyu and Lei. Oh, they just lie down on the ground and everything whiffs and I get blown up. Ah! Again, general tip here. You have to know what your character's low hitting mid is. With Kazuya, it's down forward 4. All attacks in this game have unique hitboxes. That means not all mids are the same. Kazuya's down forward 4 is a mid that hits insanely low. This is the attack you have to identify on your character, your main, that you're going to use to chip away at characters like Eddie, Xiaoyu, and Lei. You will not use jabs. Nope. The game completely changes. If you're going up against Paul, yeah, you'll check with jabs all day long. But not versus Eddie and Xiaoyu. Suddenly your go-to poke, down forward 4 in the neutral. Because at any time, they can do a highly evasive attack. Or they can lie down on the ground, and this will pick them up. Again, this is just a basic tip I can give in like 1 or a few sentences, and it's going to help you 1,000 times more than going through a move list. Or, oh, are you going up against Brian, Paul, Lee? I can tell you straight away, those are the kings of keep out. Counter it, keep out. Never run into them. Never run into them. Paul's gonna down for 2. Brian's gonna 3+4 or a defensive orbital. Lee's going to back 4. Never run into those characters. Nope. Gotta be super careful and move very, very carefully, and it's better to let them come to you. So again, this is something that is unbelievably important that way too few players even bother to look at, and it's gonna help you tremendously. I just cannot overstate this. And the last tip I'm going to give you, number 5, is technical optimization. And this one can be boring, but it's just very important. So here we can talk about movement, and this is basically going to practice mode, doing something as boring as practicing your Korean backdash. This is going to be your way of retreating, creating space. And creating space is very, very important, being able to do that. Otherwise, you are at the mercy of your opponent and whatever he wants to throw in at your way. Unfortunately, you need a PhD in execution to do something as basic as retreating in Tekken, because if you just hold back, you're doing this. If you do backdashes in a row, this is what it looks like. This is just generic backdash into backdash. Are you seeing this? You can't retreat like that, so you have to learn to Korean backdash. There are a lot of good tutorials on this. Anakin has a really good one. Practice Korean backdash. Take 10 minutes every time you play this game. Practice mode, 10 minutes. Every time you have a Tekken session. And remember to utilize it during the matches. Even if you feel, I'm bad at it, do it in matches. You're going to learn it so much faster. Always try to utilize it. Never go back to not doing Korean backdashing. Always practice this in matches and in practice mode. It is just that important. And another thing you can do is optimizing your combos. Every time you launch your opponent, it's very important to get every single drop of health you can get out of them. So, for example, with Kazuya, there's a big difference between doing this very basic staple route, that one, and doing this one. The latter there gives way more damage, and not only that, gives way better Oki, which always is the most favorable Oki situation for Kazuya, is always ending a combo with electric. So way more damage and way better Oki. And this guy, you know his Vortex, you know how important Oki is to this character. So it's there's a big difference between doing a basic staple and doing a big boy staple, optimizing combos. And that should be your goal. And with certain characters, highly technical characters like, well, Kazuya, but also like Lee and Brian is the third most popular character in the game, the damage difference is insane between an easy to do basic combo and the big boy stuff. There's no comparison. You're leaving so much damage off the table if you don't go for the big boy stuff. So that's what I mean with technical optimization. It's basically get the big boy stuff down in terms of combo, etc., punishment, and also make sure your Korean backdash is as good as it can be. Because being able to retreat quickly is going to get you out of a lot of very obnoxious situations. And with certain characters, it's just so important being able to create space. Kazuya being one of them. So 26 minutes, that's going to be my top 5 advices on how to improve in Tekken. I hope that didn't go on for too long. I just tried to be as specific as I could, give the information I can. And yeah, that to me is honestly the 5 most important things you can do to improve in this game. And I hope it helps people. Thanks for listening.